The Blues I'm Playing by Langston Hughes. 5. The Persian vases in the music room were filled with long-stemmed lilies that night when Osceola Jones came down from Harlem for her last time to play for Mrs. Dora Ellsworth. Mrs. Ellsworth had on a gown of black velvet and a collar of pearls about her neck. She was very kind and gentle to Osceola, as one would be to a child who has done a great wrong but doesn't know any better. But to the black girl from Harlem she looked very cold and white, and her grand piano seemed like the biggest and heaviest in the world. As Osceola sat down to play it, with the technique for which Miss Ellsworth had paid, as the rich, aging white woman listened to the great roll of Beethoven's sonatas and to the sea of moonlight of the Chopin nocturnes, as she watched the swaying, dark, strong shoulders of Osceola Jones, she began to reproach the girl aloud for running away from art and music and burying herself in Atlanta and love for a man unworthy of lacing up her bootstraps, as Mrs. Ellsworth put it. "You could shake the stars with your music, Osceola. Depression or no depression, I could make you great. And yet you propose to dig a grave for yourself. Art is bigger than love." "I believe you, Mrs. Ellsworth," said Osceola, not turning away from the piano. "But being married won't keep me from making tours or being an artist." "Yes, it will," said Mrs. Ellsworth. "He'll take all the music out of you." "No, he won't," said Osceola. "You don't know, child," said Mrs. Ellsworth, "what men are like." "Yes, I do," said Osceola simply, and her fingers began to wander slowly up and down the keyboard, flowing into the soft and lazy syncopation of a Negro blues, a blues that deepened and grew into rollicking jazz, then into an earth-throbbing rhythm that shook the lilies in the Persian vases of Mrs. Ellsworth's music room. Louder than the voice of the white woman who cried that Osceola was deserting beauty, deserting her real self, deserting hope in life, the flood of wild syncopation filled the house, then sank into the slow and singing blues with which it had begun. The girl at the piano heard the white woman saying, "Is this what I spent thousands of dollars to teach you?" "No," said Osceola simply. "This is mine. Listen. How sad and gay it is, blue and happy, laughing and crying. How white like you and black like me. How much like a man and how like a woman. Warm as Pete's mouth. These are the blues. I'm playing." Mrs. Ellsworth sat very still in her chair, looking at the lilies trembling delicately in the priceless Persian vases, while Osceola made the bass notes throb like tom-toms deep in the earth. "Oh, if I could holler," sang the blues, "like a mountain jack. I'd go up on the mountain," sang the blues, "and call my baby back." "And I," said Mrs. Ellsworth, rising from her chair, "would stand looking at the stars." And that is the end.